So
Good
Jim,
evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
but that's the
Good.
annual filing fee with the state of Illinois, which Jim has made every year as a carryover from Keith. But the problem is nobody realized, and back when um, I guess Keith was getting sick or whatever, there was no federal 990 continued to be filed as a non-for-profit, and so therefore we lost the non-for-profit status with the federal government.
Oh, okay.
You're registered as a non-for-profit with the state of Illinois, but the state of Illinois, they just collect $75 every year or whatever Jim pays. They just collect that every year, and they don't care about anything else. It's the federal government that gives you your exemption as a not for profit. And that's what John Christopher with fraternal law will need to get reinstated. Now, I found those papers. I don't know what I was digging for, but I found those papers on our bylaws, on our article of corporation, and our certificate um, when I was looking for some tax stuff. And so the articles of a corporation and bylaws were done and adopted on February 24th of 1990. And as you probably saw, Mr. Latz and Mr. Twyford and Mr. Menard were parties of filing that articles of incorporation and bylaws back in March 29th of 1990. And so since that time, there have been two amendments that have been added to the bylaws. And my problem that I've been looking for on and off for a while is going back and trying to find the minutes where those amendments have been made. And those two amendments are one, that the president may serve for 2 terms. And the second one is add a communications coordinator to one of the positions of officers. So that's the status where I'm at. Now, what I'm doing is I've gathered up all of the current directors and all the current officers and names, addresses, stuff like that. And I've identified some of the details of the Alumni Association, but then there is a balance sheet that I have not finished completing, and there is um, there's a place for a summary. I gotta find that. Oh, I gotta write a scope of services and what the alumni association does. So that those two parts and the balance sheet are what I owe John Christopher yet. He has received the payment that Jim said, and he has had his team do the initial research for the non-for-profit status. So that's kind of where we're at.
Rick, at the bottom of the Articles of Incorporation page, Article 5, there's like a summary of what we do. If you got to write something up, A, B, C, and D, to me, that looks like that would be a good starting point or may provide all you need.
Oh, I see, on the Articles of Incorporation.
The purpose, this is what we
Yeah.
filed with Illinois, I guess, but it says the purpose of what the corporation is organized for, and that kind of details, I think, sounds like what you're needing there, more or less.
Well, you're probably right. I haven't read that in quite a while, Dale.
That would probably
Yeah,
provide most of what you need to save some time from starting from scratch.
that probably would be good. Now, John has these, so I haven't had a response back from him yet. That was a few days ago. But anyway, yeah, good point.
And I'd like to tell you that I remember signing this.
Yeah, yeah, you're the author of the damn thing. Where are you?
But I
Come
don't
on,
remember
Dale.
signing this.
Have you slept since then or what?
What's that?
I said, have you slept since then or what?
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember did I did this morning, let alone.
Well, let me ask you a question, which maybe you recall or don't recall. Since NEP sent those original documents to Rick, which I have no copy of those anywhere at all. What was the thinking when you did this in 1990?
Oh, I don't know, Rick.
Okay,
I mean, I don't remember the thought process or what triggered it or whatever.
okay, all right.
Sorry.
Well, you and Menard and Twyford, I mean, you're good business people, and there must have been some logic of why you did it. I mean, I think it's the 1990 is what we rest our hats on and go forward with. But we in the Alumni Association are truly asking for a 501c3 status. And yeah, where the chapter is different, and I reported that to Al, and I had nothing at all for the chapter, but Mr. Christopher says the activities of a typical undergraduate chapter of fraternity are appropriate for organizations exempt under 501c7.
Yep, that's correct.
Huh?
That's correct.
Yeah. An IRS reporting standpoint, the chapter is required to file a Form 990 every year. Failure to file for 3 consecutive years, the chapter loses its tax exempt status. So that was his response to the chapter.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sending that stuff, Rick, because one of the missing pieces of the puzzle for me to get my pool of information together to get that reestablished for the chapter was a lack of bylaws. And I have been in touch with the National and did not get a response until yesterday when I called and left messages 2 different places, and then I finally got a call back. And anyway, long story short, they were going to be looking through their files on Beta Alpha to see if they had a copy of bylaws for the chapter. He said if we do not, well, he asked me then whether the alumni did, and at the time I didn't. Yeah, I had no idea. All I knew was no. And I said the chapter, the Alumni Association, is a corporation, but I have no idea where the documents are. Well, then you sent the documents through later after that phone call. But anyway, he said if he cannot find anything in the file for our chapter and bylaws, he said if you can find something from the Alumni Association and with what they have done with other chapters at the National, they will come up with a set of bylaws for the chapter. So I said, okay, great. He said, give me a few days to look through this stuff because he's traveling on the road too. So having known that, and now with the copy that you found, Rick, I think is going to be helpful, at least getting the chapter data together so we can file the necessary paperwork and get that status reinstated. And Omega Phi will do all of that. We just have to accumulate all the information. And then on an annual basis, Omega Phi will file a form as long as the data from the chapter is in Omega Phi. It makes it very simple. Then they'll just transfer the income and expense data that's already in Omega Phi and plug that into the form, and they do the form. So all a chapter has to do is sign it. They're good to go. So it does cost something. It's going to cost something. It doesn't matter who does it. So I just think it's a lot more seamless and a lot more foolproof in Omega Phi, as long as the chapter keeps up their accounting within Omega Phi, which these guys, I mean, I've done a better job in the last 2.5 months than what that chapter did for the last 12 years. So, I mean, they've got their income and expenses. They've got their checking accounts linked. It's just, it's been a pleasant experience. Once we turned them loose and told them what needed to be done, they've really grabbed things by the horns and really done it. So what I was hoping, Rick, is that we weren't stepping on each other, trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was important that we talked so that we all knew where we were. So we weren't stepping over each other.
Yeah, it's that's great, Al. And after you and I talked earlier, and I got this response back from John Christopher, it's really two separate processes, because of the way we handle money, and we have our fundraisers and put money into the foundations and stuff like that. Yeah, it's two entirely separate deals. The one thing that the one thing I don't know quite how to wash out, but I think I just need to list the two items separately. And Jen, I'm going off of the June 30, 24. Yeah, I think that was the one I had. You sent out the June 30, 24 fiscal year financials, right?
Yeah, I had that, I had it at the meeting, the summer meeting.
Yeah. I didn't have them. I didn't have them, but I think I got them now. Anyway, where we rent and we pay the rent, that's one of the areas that's a little confusing, but you know, it's fine. We don't own the property, so there's a lot of this stuff that doesn't pertain, like taxes levied, unrelated business income. We don't have anything like that. Gain or sale on capital assets. We don't have anything like that. And depreciation. There's a lot of this stuff that that we can streamline because we don't do it. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. I should have this part completed in his hands probably in 2 weeks. The only reason why I say 2 weeks is I've got to be gone for a while. And then when I get back, I'll finish it up and get it out. So I would say that that first week of October, this will be completely in John Christopher's hands.
Rick, getting back to your question about the 1990 thing and why we did it, it probably gets back to being able to take the contributions from members as a legitimate tax deduction on their tax returns. And we probably tried to incorporate and get the right filing status. So we were a charitable organization. And I'm guessing at that, but that makes sense of why we would have maybe at that time, as we got 20 years down the road of being an association, to make gifts contributions to the Alumni Association, a tax deductible contribution. That's probably why we started all this, maybe. I don't know.
You know what, that's when a lot of the money started coming. I mean, we were a association for a long time. But we really didn't have money flowing around.
Right.
And that probably made a lot of sense. Cause I know that there were some pretty big checks. There was like, oh, I've got that list someplace. There was like 7 people that were kicking in over $10,000 a year to get that one debt that was left over from the chapter when they moved out of 116. We had a debt of $70,000 that
Oh, yeah.
Dean Minish negotiated with the university. The university was wanting like $240,000. He negotiated it down to $70,000. And then there was about 7 people that stepped forward and made that payment every year for, I think we did that for 4 years.
Maybe 5.
So your attorney, the retainer we have, he is the one charged with working on getting us back into good standing with IRS or whatever it takes to do that then. Sounds
Right.
okay.
Right. He's got I don't know that there's any other form that's available to him other than the 1023. The 1023 is the application form for which he would complete and turn in to apply for the tax exempt status again under a 50C3 non-for-profit.
If we can get all of this stuff, all the legal stuff, finally buttoned up and get some closure to it for not only the Alumni Association, the active chapter, this will put us at least on, I think, much better footing going forward, depending on what happens with the house, than kind of where we thought we were starting last January, because we really had no idea we didn't know what we were getting into or where in the world we were in order to be able to deal with that. So I guess I'm glad we've got some time to work all of these kinks out.
Yeah, it's been a good education process. And I guess from my standpoint, I had some of this information that I'd been carried around to meetings. And we did make a couple of amendment changes. Those actually have to be written up in those bylaws. But there's an effective date that has to be recorded because you have to report if you've made any amendments. Now, the one question I had for John Christopher, I said, what difference does it matter what we have other than you using it as an outline and template for new filing? I haven't heard back from him on that question.
Well, I sort of remember talking about at least one of those, or maybe both of those. I don't know. It had mean sitting through several years of annual meeting tapes that Rick made to try and figure out when that was. I don't know.
I was thinking that the 2-year deal went back to Brohammer when we were close to the 50th anniversary. And that's what I've been trying to concentrate on.
I don't think that was all that far back.
No.
Myself. I mean,
No,
that's probably in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we're about 50, we're about 57 now, 56, something like that. Well, here, I can tell you. Forgot I had that.
Well, we're 54 because it was 1970 and 2020.
Yeah, 54. We're 54 now. So I think it was about Brohammer when that change came in. And then Rick, when he started doing so much great work with the computer. And I mean, he's gone through major changes since then. And we said, this is really critical. And that was the second thing that was added to the bylaws. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, Rick, I think it's a good thing that you added those slots onto the website for those documents.
Yeah.
I think that's really a good idea. We need that kind of stuff. Because unfortunately we don't always remember where we put that stuff.
Yeah, and I'll get these latest things from Rick Hyatt on there as well.
Well,
Yeah,
and if I get something for the chapter, it wouldn't hurt if we stuck a copy of that up there too, even
Sure.
if it's just a copy.
Absolutely.
So that inspires a couple of questions for me as I've been listening to everybody, and thanks for everybody for their hard work. For Jim, where do we stand in terms? I know all the DocuSign stuff has been done for Al and Dale on the account with access to the security accounts.
Actually, it's bank and trust accounts, and we received the last stuff. I think something else came from Al today. Everything is signed, and we have set up as far as access. Probably just need to somebody call in and tell you. Probably the easiest way is to call and talk to Janelle, or I do have something here where she set up something with Joe Bockel where he can accept an invite and set up the online banking. See, it's set up. It's just someone has to go in there and put in whatever information needs to be. But everything is set up for that right now.
So should Al and I call the bank then?
It'd probably be easier if you call in. Yeah, she just actually finished this up before I left work about 4:30.
What's the number I call?
Call 217-594-2221.
And ask for Janelle?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And also I got I sent something to Rick Story. I got a new debit card for the one account, the internet account, the Crowd Change account. And I was going to give Rick that information and have him set up that with the the storage unit. So they can pull the money out of that account on the 1st of each month. And I'm going to set up an automatic transfer for that, like the 20th of the month. So it's in there on the 1st, but only move everything monthly. So we don't have a lot in that account if we would be hacked. So
Could you send me the same thing? So I got the same thing with the QuickBooks. So
okay.
I get the charge is like $49.95 a month or something like that. And right now I got that set to my credit card.
Okay.
And so I'll have a month or two on my own credit card, but if you got a card that we can transfer that charge to, that would be great. So it's directly to the association.
Okay. Why don't you just give me your number, Dale? I will call you. I'd rather do that and call you and personally give you the information.
Yeah, 217
Okay.
493 1798.
1798. Okay.
And then one other thing from you, Jim, could you email me the 6/30/23 financial statements that were presented like a year ago? Do you still have those or save those on?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, Dale, welcome back to America.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like jumping feet first into the fire when you get back.
Right.
Huh? Wow, holy crap. Okay, Dale and Jim, are you finished? I got another question for Al.
I think that's the two things I wanted to bring up specific.
Al can call in and do the same thing as far as him getting access.
Okay, I got the number down. I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, Al, question for you. You mentioned that that all that information is pulled from Omega Phi, from the income statements and balance sheets. You asked Zach to do the budget through the end of the next fiscal year. Has that been done yet?
I don't know, Tom. I did not look. I have
Okay.
not looked at that. But I will look that up and see whether he's added those, the last 6 months. But I thought it was great that he did a real nice job through the end of December. But I think carrying that forward so that it ends the end of June, I think is still the best thing to do, because when the new treasurer comes in, they don't have to find and start a budget right away about something that they just aren't that familiar with. So I think it's a good thing doing it that way. And it also follows their fiscal year. So
And I believe I think they're going to start an assistant treasurer position as well to help with that transition.
I think that's a great idea.
I looked late today on the regions account they have down there, and you can enter a description, for the transaction. And it looks like they've gone in and just have entered a detailed description on all the transactions. I kind of just randomly went through and checked. I mean, it's like night and day what this group is doing from what it seems like it was just 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah,
We have something to celebrate here.
we
Seems like
sure
a
do.
big black hole for about 10 years or something like that. I don't know. I've been
Yeah.
around with this recently, but
I'll be seeing
some
Zach.
quality, some quality people in that chapter, it seems like right now to me.
Yeah.
I
I'll be
agree.
seeing Zach in the morning when I drop off some stuff at the house. And so that's why I was asking that question. So from a completion standpoint, I guess the question I wanted to ask, I heard Rick Hyatt say that it'll be sometime in October. We'll be done with that portion of it, or at least be in John Christopher's hands. Al, on that 990, probably think maybe the same time period.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, very good. Jim, a few weeks ago, I asked you for some information about that freezer purchase back in, were you able to locate anything?
No, I haven't had time on that. I don't think we actually paid for it. I thought that Greg and Colleen bought that. That's when their son Michael was down there, I'm sure. And I haven't had time to look it up. I mean, but I did get the rest of this stuff done. But I remember when they mentioned something about buying a freezer, but I thought they went out and did it themselves.
Okay, all right. We got bigger fish to fry. If you can locate it, great. But we're gonna keep moving forward. And we'll go from there. Jim, I want to thank you for your help in getting us to this point on the accessibility to your accounts. We're within inches of it, and I appreciate that.
I think you should see everything should be all set. So the end of September, the statements that come out at the end of September should have access to everybody too.
All right, sounds good. Dale, question
Can I
for
comment
you.
one more thing?
Yes.
It's kind of nice to, you mentioned about the new guys. It's nice to be able to look there and say, oh, today's the 17th, 18th of the month, 17th. There's actually money in the rental account for next month's rent, because they got guys that are paying extra and everything. And it's just, Zach, it's been wonderful working with him and stuff. And I'm sure I'll get the October one before the end of September.
Good deal. Good deal. Dale, would you quickly give the group an overview of your work with QuickBooks, so we kind of know where we're going on that mission?
Sure. So we've signed up for QuickBooks Online. And my plan is we've got the chart of accounts set up with Al's help and everybody. And I've got access online to Tadge's accounts and one account in Petersburg, and kind of went back and entered 3 or 4 months. There's not a lot of transactions in most of these accounts, generally speaking. And once I get online, so I haven't done anything with accounts at Jim's bank yet. Once I get online and I get access to past statements, and my plan is to go back about 2 years and enter the past 2 years or so of information, and to kind of get that in there and match that to Jim's statements. That's why I asked Jim for the 2023 ending fiscal year also, because this helps me categorize some of the transactions that I'm unsure of. And when I get all those entered, there will be transactions I'm unsure of how to categorize those. So I'll let you know and Taj know, just to be sure that we get those correct. This is my plan anyway. And then go back, and so we have 2 years previous, and then start this moving forward with QuickBooks Online. I've set Al up as a user and Tom as a user with we can have up to 5, so we got 3 of the 5 used. So I hope to do a lot of this in the next 2 or 3 months. Time frame.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Once you get started, you can automatically upload the transactions from I don't know about Jim's bank, I assume we can. And actually, it's really slick. You can go online and go to that account, and it'll bring in the transactions, the individual transaction in the QuickBooks. Then you just have to go into those transactions and just categorize them, what account they go to. And that's slick. The problem going back in Tadge's bank, I could go back to like March and get all the transactions automatically input into QuickBooks back to March. But prior to that, looks like I'm going to have to enter them by hand, which isn't the end of the world or anything. But once this is all set up and moving forward, it shouldn't take really a lot of time to keep the books up to date. And it's roughly $50 a month to be online, which for our organization is not much, but having access by 5 people to go in and look at it and use it is, because we're going to be changing people here and there and all that kind of stuff. So you don't want it on somebody's home computer. This will be the best way to do it.
Sounds good.
So we're working on that. Hopefully the next 2 or 3 months. Yeah, I hope to have all the last couple of years caught up. And Al, I'll be bending your ear and having you help me a little bit if that's all right on some things. So
Yeah, no problem.
And then Jim and Taj, I'll probably be getting back to just with individual transactions that I got questions on exactly what account this goes to, you know. Rick Hyatt, the money that you make off the Hawaiian raffle, does that go to Jim or does that go to Taj?
All of the money that comes in goes to Jim, and then we award the trip and give the 10 people back their money. But that money stays in the operation account to cover alumni expenses.
Okay. So the money that Taj gets pretty well is generally just voluntary alumni dues and any other extra gifts he gets.
Taj's account was strictly for dues and donations.
Okay.
Taj also gets the PayPal stuff goes through that account.
Yeah, the stuff that Rick Story gets on PayPal gets transferred to him, to
Yeah.
Taj.
Yes.
Yeah, that goes to Taj's account, and then we settle with, I tell Taj how much he has to transfer to Jim, and that goes to the operation account.
Yeah.
One last thing for me, Dale, you alluded to it a minute ago about changes in people, changes in personnel. I'd like to throw this out to the group that's been on my mind for a while, but I think it's time to begin to look at some quality younger people that have graduated in the last 10 or 20 years in terms of getting some younger blood into our financial side of things. And if anybody knows anybody hears anybody is impressed by some people as they graduate, we need to begin to start that conversation of a succession plan.
I think that's a good idea, Tom. You know, I'd like to think we're all gonna live forever, but we aren't. But one other quick thing is Zach has only finished that budget through the end of December. I just looked.
Okay, it's, I'm not gonna beat up on him. He's done just phenomenal work, but it was just one of those things that we, to keep our forward progress going, want to keep going.
Yep.
Um, uh, and just for the purposes of the group, last thing from me, promise, is that I have gathered some office materials for Zach and Dennis, and I'm delivering those to the house tomorrow morning. They'll have a desk, monitor, office chair, office mat, printer, and some other small miscellaneous items that I'll be delivering tomorrow morning, and they'll be able to begin to have the semblance of an office. If anybody on this call has a extra up-to-date laptop and or scanner, those are probably the two critical items that we need going forward.
Got a fax machine, but I don't have a scanner.
It's a printer, scanner, copier that I'm giving them tomorrow morning.
Oh, so it's a combination. Okay.
Yes, those aren't always a perfect mix, but for what we're trying to accomplish and get them going, I think it'll be a good start. I didn't have anything else. I appreciate you all coming on.
I just
Rick,
have one-
you
I-
got
I have
anything
one
for
quick-
us?
I have one quick thing for Jim real quick, just to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So we changed the room leases this last month again to incorporate a $475 security deposit. We have one person now that has signed that new lease. It's Garrett. He just moved in a couple weeks ago. And so we need to take his $475 and put it in the escrow account, or however we used to do that. And I think the way it's gonna work is Zach is going to put it on OmegaFi and transfer it to you so that you
Okay.
can put it in an account. And we're gonna start that from this moment forward, going forward. So all leases next semester for the summer, whoever moves in from now until, fall, it'll be the new lease with the $475 deposit.
Now, the other day, someone told me I needed to send, I forget who it was on it, somebody a $300 because they gave a refund back to someone. I took that out of the escrow account, so.
That's fine. That was a messy situation with one of the brothers in the house that claimed to have given us a deposit and never got it back. And he was in any way the chapter decided to quiet him because of everything we're trying to do, give him back his money, and then he's happy, and now things are running smoothly. So it's just a
Okay,
fire.
that's why
check-
I took it out of the escrow account. Yeah.
That check should have gone to Zach, right, Jim?
It did, yeah.
Okay, then we should be good. And coming out of the escrow would be probably the appropriate place. But when you get that 475, can you put some notes into it so that we understand who it came from, when it came, and all those pertinent details?
Okay,
Well-
it'll come into the, well, I'll put it on the deposit as far as that goes, as to what, explain that too.
Dale will enter that then in QuickBooks, so we'll have all of the pertinent information too.
Jim, I
Okay.
assume that account that you label in your financial statements that has escrow account by it is what that was for?
Right, yeah, that was the deposits that
When we were collecting,
supposedly they put the deposit and they moved in. When they moved out the end of the term, they got it back, and the next guy it went back in. It never has changed. Nobody's ever been there to give anybody their deposit back at the end of the semester or anything.
Yeah.
Just kind of there, and it used to be 3,600, then we upped it to 3,800 whenever the rent went from 36 to 3,800. It was basically a month's worth of rent. It was in there.
And then finally, next semester, if Chris Randall decides to go in the house again, there will be a pet fee in the lease. It'll be a $25 per month fee and a $250 non-refundable payment up front. Rick looks surprised, but what happened was there was nothing in the lease that said anything about pets. And we had in there that we had to follow university housing rules. And in the university housing rules, it said you must allow an emotional support animal to live in the house with someone. And we told that to Chris Randall, and he ran out and got a therapist to sign a form saying this is an emotional support animal. So we said, well, you have to go to student housing and get it approved. He went to student housing and said, you guys live off campus, there's nothing pertains to you. So we had no what to stand on other than say okay. But so by law in Illinois now, if someone can prove they have an emotional pet animal, you have to allow that animal to live in the house. And so we decided then, if that's the case, then we're going to put some money on this to cover this. Because when we went in that house, there was dog hair everywhere in every vent. So we're going to do $25 a month or $30. We changed it to $30 a month and $250 up front fee. So we're about $550. So he's going to pay for having that pet in there. That's supposedly an emotional support animal. Now, I just talked to my cousin who has an emotional support animal. She is disabled. And they said that this dog travels with her everywhere. An emotional support animal goes everywhere with you. And I bet that's not the case here. But we have no ground. We have no leg to stand on. All we can do is say,
Can we have a dog pledge the house?
It's a new era.
Hey, Rick, I just
need
thought of something. Did you change that lease to reflect $100 for the utilities yet?
No, I have not changed the lease for that yet, because everybody's signed it. I will change it before we have anybody else sign it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I can't change the lease for people that have already signed the lease.
No, I wasn't advocating that. I was just making sure that we had our housekeeping in order for anybody new.
Well, here's the thing. So I set the new form up so that you just plug in numbers. It's a form that has no information in it at all, no dates or anything. And then we plug it in. So before the next semester, somebody has to go in and plug in all that information. You know what I mean? And then that will be the form that we will use from that moment forward, and be uploaded. I guess we're going to try to do the DocuSign this year. I've looked into it. It's like $300 a year, something like that, to set it up, so that people can come in and sign it, and you can track it and all that stuff. So I haven't gotten into any details. I just know the basic prices of it.
Okay, all right. Collections start on October 11th against Zach Reynolds and Nathan Weichman. That's our new latest date. There may be a slight delay on Nathan due to some fees that we need to add, but without fail, Zach Reynolds faces collections on Friday, October 11th.
And just one more comment on that $100 you said. I think what we should, and I think I mentioned this in the email, we need to put something in there that this is not a fixed cost. This is this is subject to the utilities average, or however you want to word it. It's not, you don't, it's not a fixed $100 cost. If the utilities go up, the cost per month goes up.
We need to have flexibility that we can adjust that charge as needed.
Correct.
Yeah, that sounds good. I appreciate everybody's time tonight. I think we're making progress. Everybody's kicking some ass in their own right, and I appreciate all what you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Tom,
And
one
you-
more quick thing.
Yeah,
I don't think Al responded. I didn't either to your text about is the chapter good enough to start paying back some things? You know, I still think the chapter basically is charging out at cost, see what I'm saying? And so I think to have extra funds to start paying us back, I think it's gonna have to come out of them doing some fundraisers or this or that. So that's just my thought on that. And I think they need to kind of determine how they want to do that.
Right.
But I don't know that even though there might be 5,000 here and 4,000 there, that doesn't mean that's all extra, because some of that's got to be paid out for rent and this and that.
Right.
So
Yeah, because
just kind of getting back to your text you sent out that I had not responded to yet.
because the cleanup
Okay.
alone is around 9,000 for them, so their share.
I
Yes.
just,
It's about 9 on the cleanup and then a couple months rent, right? And whatever. So-
Yeah, and then that what was it, 5,500 for the past rent?
yeah.
Yeah, so they get
Oh,
keep
well,
that.
Yeah, that's not rent. That 5,500 is for the money that went to National.
Yeah, that we paid for the.
Oh,
their
yeah,
share.
that's right. You're right. So I mean, they're thousands of dollars, and
But I think we need to address to them that and they know what the amounts kind of are, is what's your plan as they got settled in here for a couple months.
right.
They need to start thinking about a repayment plan on that, however they address it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just had one other good piece of news. So, well, the first part isn't good. Chuck went in for his knee replacement surgery yesterday, so he's now got a brand new knee. And when he got home, he found out that Brian from Top Tier, the owners of the house, came into town and took a tour of the house yesterday. The guys had it cleaned up really well. They walked through the house. All Chuck found out was the owners were very pleased with the condition of the house, and they've agreed to put in all new flooring next, probably after, the first of the year, because we're going to go down and do all the baseboard and door painting before they put in new floors. But they're going to get all new floors in the house, so that's good news.
Well, they should be happy with the money we all put in it to clean it up. So,
Yes, they are.
can I just add a couple things? Rick, Story, can you give me your number? Like
My phone number 847 344
344
9722.
722. I'll give you a call. It might not be tonight, but it'll be in the next couple days on that.
Okay.
Another thing I'll add, I got a couple donations in the mail. I got one for $500 from Joe Young out of Iowa, and I got the Bill Hobner $900 for the stuff that DJ did. Those came in the mail today.
Okay, great.
That's good.
Rick, what would we need to get our half, about 10,000 or so back to cover our half of cleaning and supplies or whatever we're paying for, or
It
more?
was just under 9,000.
Okay,
Just under.
we're about halfway there. I don't know, in a couple of weeks or once a month, you may want to send that out again and say, hey, we're looking for this and we're halfway there or whatever. It seems like we're doing pretty good.
Right. Yeah. So the guys in the house are, once they get a computer, the major things that they're going to need, and this is odd because when you guys first, Rick Hyatt, when you guys first moved into the house, I have the pictures online, and there was window coverings over all the windows, blinds and whatever. There's nothing in that house now. They have no blinds, they have no drapes, they have nothing on any windows. And it's like living in a fishbowl when you walk in that house. So, I mean, that's another thing that's got to get done at some point, I think.
Are there moonshots on the glass?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. So yeah, there's still money to pour into that house, unfortunately.
Anybody going through Springfield tomorrow night or anytime during the weekend? It's homecoming down there at Carbondale, I think, this weekend.
Oh, I'm gonna be in Carbondale this weekend. It's
You're gonna be
family.
where?
I'm gonna be in Carbondale this weekend. It's family weekend. I'm gonna be at the football game Saturday night.
Yeah, but you don't come through Springfield.
No,
Yeah, I got all the robes cleaned, pressed, and repaired, and I got to get them down to the guys sometime. I'm just trying to find somebody that's headed through Springfield. I'm going to Springfield this weekend. I thought maybe I could coordinate a ride down there or get them down there with somebody.
yeah, I'm leaving Friday night as soon as I get home. So about 4 o'clock Friday, I'm heading south.
You want to come through Springfield?
Be about 2 hours out of my way.
Well, this is a tongue-in-cheek comment for you guys going down this weekend. Check and see how the demolition of 116 is going.
I have a discussion going with Susan tomorrow. I'll ask the question.
And I warned Zach that I was gonna be down there. I was gonna be looking for them guys at the tailgate party, and I'd stop at the house, but it'll be Sunday afternoon. I'll have to sleep in on Sunday.
All right.
All right, anybody else? If not, that's it. Thank you for everything. We'll be back in touch. Keep it coming.
Good job.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody,
Bye, everybody.
All right.
bye.
Bye.